Welcome back to Scooter Madness 101, where as you can see I laid everything out to assemble this scooter. There's not a lot of parts to put on, so it's not a difficult challenge, and I will show you that, and it's easy to go. The first thing I always do when I get to this point, I don't like to have the handlebars hanging down, because that's hanging on the wires and all the cables. So I just pick it up and slide it. If I can get the wires around everything, onto the neck, and just leave it there and unwrap it real quick. And this way it's not hanging around and it's not going to damage the cables. Alright, I can get rid of that. The next thing you do is over on this side, you have to add a piece of the kickstand, which is this part right here. So what I do is I grab the parts, I put all my bolts and nuts right here so I don't lose any of them. It will be those two nuts, those two bolts and those two nuts. So all you got to do to install this, grab your ratchet, this faces up. Slide that right into there like that. Put your bolts through. Take your nuts and start your nuts. 1, 2. So then you grab your ratchet, make sure it's going the right way. You can hold this down, kind of like that, and just start ratcheting away to tighten them up. And number 2. A ratcheting we will go. It's kind of a tight space, so this takes a little bit of time because it's such a tight space to work in. Look at that one's tight. And now a little bit more on the bottom one, and we'll be good to go. And there we go, nice and tight. Now, the next thing that you want to do is lift the back end off of the rack. So you just take and lift and swing it. Now, the part that you just put on, right here, you want to lift up the back of the bike, get it off the ground, just like that. Now, the next thing you want to do is come up here and get your fender. No, excuse me, your tire. I'm going to show you how to put the tire on first to make it easier. There is, if you can come in right here, there is this little piece of plastic right here that comes out. It fits into your brakes so they don't pop out during shipment. Now we got to take out this bolt. So taking out that bolt, you just ratchet it out. There is the nut. Tap, tap, tap. And sometimes these get pinched, and there we go. Let the scooter go back on its back. This washer spacer fell out, but you have to keep this and you have to keep the bolt to hold your front tire on. So I'm going to move this out of our way. Get it out of here because we don't need it no more. And then we're going to put the tire on. This side right here, this has to lock into it. This is your speedo cable. So you slide it back, and there's a little certain ways that this goes on. As you can see inside there, you got 2 tabs, top and bottom. So you got to make sure the tabs line up with the cut in the rim hub. There's that. And now all I'm going to do is slide the pin in. Whoop, whoop. After I put the little washer in, that spacer goes right there. See the spacer right there? That's that spacer I told you to keep. Whoop, and it fell out. There we go. Now, over on this side, if you want to come over here, this here has this little part right here. There's a little tab on your forks that has to lock into so that doesn't spin around on you while you're trying to drive. Because it wouldn't be good if that comes loose while you're driving around. And there's your nut. Take your screw, and nut, put your nut on top, and we're going to start ratcheting it down. So far, there's nothing to it. Everything's going smoothly. And once we tighten this up, we'll move on to the fender. I like to have everything finished in one area before I jump to the next area. And these here, you got to torque it pretty good. Yeah, there we go. Now your front tire's on. Now for your fender, which is right here, you got to take out these 2 bolts, or I should say screws. There's one on each side. One and 2. And the fender has these little clips. You can't see them, but there's little holes up here, little nubs up top here that stick up. These have to get pushed over them. And these here, these little holes, get locked onto these. That's why you got to move these out of the way a little bit. So you stick your hand up there. And try to lock it in place. Sometimes this can be fun to do, but you got to do it. And there we go. See, that should come through like that. And then you just take your screw through here. Whoops. And put it through. Like so. And tightening this side up. And it's the same thing on the other side. There, and tightening it up. Like so. Okay, now for the handlebars, as you can see, they're backwards. We got to turn them the right way. You got these 3 pieces. You got the nut, the bolt, and this washer. This washer is angled, and that has to fit against the round part of your steering column. So your bolt goes through like this, so it's like, looks like that. Then you just gotta turn this and line up your hole, which you won't be able to, probably won't be able to see, and slide it in. Oops. This is the fun part. It's such a small area to get the hands into. There we go. Now it's all the way in. Right like that. So then you got to get this bolt, the nut, onto this bolt. And then you just sit there and tighten it down. And there you go. Then you got the cover right here that goes over, covers everything up. You got the little tabs with the little cloth that push in to all 5 of those spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You always put the bottom one in first. And you just give it a snug little tap to snap them in place. Then if you come around to this side, you can see that there's little holes for these little screws. There's 4 of them. So you just put it in and screw it down. Same thing on the other side. And 2 more over here. Let me get the keys out of the way. There we go. And now the last one. And there's that. There's also this one screw right here that goes right into the front, right here, and screws it down. Right like that. So pretty much all that's assembled. The last thing we have to do is put your mirrors on. They're marked left and right on the back. So this one here says left. So that'll go on this side, and you just screw them in. There we go, nice and tight. Snug it down, put your cap on. Here's the next side. Same thing, you just twist them on. You just take your wrench, twist them down, snug it down in place, and there you go, you built your scooter. The next video, I'll show you how to install your battery and start it for the very first time.